Morning, Bones.
Good morning, Padre. So I don't know. Have you looked into the bullshit going on up in Portland?
Well, Portland's kind of an interesting city during all of this, and I know you've got some ties up there, so uh, we started looking into some of it. I found two things this week in Portland. Uh, they actually had their police department disband the protesters' camp across from the ICE facility this week
Wow.
due to increasing violence and multiple arrests that had been made between anti protesters and protesters. They've had several fights, and I guess five arrests were made. One anti protester had been arrested and was ordered to stay 200 feet away from the ICE facility, so he's marked off a line on the sidewalk and he's 200 feet away, still showing up every day. But they moved the camp. Instead of just having the normal, they had I guess a division that was assigned to just keep it cleared out. They actually had their law enforcement go in and disband the camp and move it, and told them they can't be
Wow.
blocking sidewalks anymore. So I thought that was kind of
Wow.
interesting.
Yeah, actually have a step in the right direction here.
It seems like it. They're recognizing that it's creating and inciting a lot of violence. The other thing I saw is the Ninth District Circuit Court of Appeals is going to be reviewing the lower court's decision on keeping the National Guard out of Portland. It hasn't happened yet, but they've been tasked through the Court of Appeals to review that. So it's possible that the lower court may be overruled and National Guard may be able to get into Portland. What have you been hearing?
Basically the same stuff, other than the Antifa violence that was happening was the main focus uh, in the up there in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
On the building, the federal buildings and the ICE facility, um, violence with using bombs and Molotov cocktails and just all kinds of stuff. But if they got the local law enforcement enrolled in trying to help control this, that's a positive thing. Um, Antifa has, I believe, some major funding coming from someplace, so I don't know how soon they can get it all under control.
Right. Well, and I know there's some dissension there as during the breakup of some of these protests and riots, local law enforcement have been hit with the tear gas and one projectile is what they're stating. So if they can get on the same page, get that cleaned up, that'd sure be nice.
Yeah. So what would be the law? Let's just put this to kind of simplify it, for a group of so-called protesters um, firing a projectile or throwing a bomb or throwing a cocktail at law enforcement.
Well, as it stands now, they have made it a mandatory prison sentence for anybody attacking law enforcement during these riots. I believe it's a minimum of 10 years if you attack or assault a police officer or federal agent during these riots.
Yeah, they just have to have law enforcement enforce the law, I guess.
Well, and that's
Put
it. And as we covered months ago, as we started looking at the protests, uh, are these protests falling within the guidelines of what a protest is? And no, they're not, especially up in
oh,
Portland. The guidelines for it to be a peaceful protest talk about you cannot block sidewalks or roadways. You cannot interfere with any function of a federal agency. These are all the law if it's going to be a peaceful protest. You violate any of that, and it's no longer a peaceful protest. It becomes a riot. It falls under that statute. So why have they been allowed to be setting up encampments and tents on the sidewalks, blocking roadways, hindering businesses, diverting traffic?
Well,
Why have they been allowed to do this?
I think it was like when we first talked about Portland and the law enforcement was standing by while the Antifa was in control of the streets, and you know, and citizens asking why they can't get there. You have to ask Antifa. They're in charge, right?
Right.
So I think they were told to. I think they were instructed by their superiors and probably the mayor or whatever to stand down and just let it happen.
Well,
You
right.
know. So
There was a video or a picture at an intersection in Portland with law enforcement officers sitting in their cars, drinking coffee, eating sandwiches, donuts perhaps, while Antifa was standing out in the middle of the road shutting it down. And it was a business owner that had approached law enforcement and said, "Hey, could you open this roadway? My customers can't get to my business." And the officer had told him, "You'll have to talk to them. They're in charge." That's a
yeah,
pretty sad state of affairs, which turns this week breaking down the encampment across from the ICE facility kind of a big deal.
yeah, it is. It's a 180-degree turn. Hopefully, it holds up and stands up, and they keep doing it. Hopefully, it will move forward in the right direction.
Well, and I think the increase in violence and the population standing up and protesting against the protests having led to violence, maybe the pressure being put on them to say, okay, let's get this under control, and the fact that the National Guard's possibly going to be sent in if the Ninth Circuit Court allows it. They don't want to face that. They would rather say, okay, look, we handled it, at least to some degree. So we'll keep our eye on Portland. A lot going on
Yeah,
up there.
yeah. In the immortal words of Motley Crue, there's some wisdom in songs. We're not going to take it anymore.
Exactly. And I think that's what's happening with citizenry up in
Yeah,
Portland. And it's spreading across the country. I know we're specifically talking about Portland right now, but I can tell you in California, they've almost got the amount of signatures to get rid of that Prop 50 that Gavin
well,
Newsom's trying to do. The citizens are now standing up and saying, look, we're tired of the leadership letting us be walked on. We're tired of our
yeah,
leadership lying to us, allowing violence, making our communities unsafe, and the public pressure is out there.
yep. And that's a good thing. I hope it stands. I hope that people just stand their ground and we can move forward in a positive direction and kind of clean things up around here.
Well, I'm hoping so too. The only disparaging thing about this story, when they talk about these arrests and the violence increasing, it seems that they're leaning to blaming it on the anti-protesters, and the only arrest they actually named was an anti-protester that had gotten into a fight that was arrested and has the restraining order. It doesn't mention anything about a protester being arrested. So there's still some dissension up there, and I don't think we're 100% 180, but I think we're moving in the right direction. And let's hope that continues for the sake of the citizens of Portland and the rest of the country.
Exactly.
So from
Exactly.
Padre Havoc and Bones, there's your update on Portland and what's going on this week.
Keep your attitudes positive out there.